Hi. In this video, we're going to be talking about field audit history. This post is inspired by Jeff Berger, who asked on Twitter for a way to track key field changes, but not just which field and what value changed, as can be captured through out-of-the-box field audit history, but more importantly, the elusive why the user made this change. Now, Jeff's requirements are that this solution needs to be declarative, and we can most certainly solve this with clicks, not code. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through my design approach. At a high level, our solution will involve a custom audit history object, so that yes, we can capture what field changed, who changed it, when, the old and new values, but also this reason for why the change occurred. Now, from a user experience perspective, I wanted to make the collection of the reason why as simple and familiar to the users in a format that they're already accustomed to right there on the page layout when they're editing the record. So part of the solution involves adding a custom field on the object that we're actually auditing. For this example, we'll be working with the account object. So we'll be adding our reason field at the account level. And then we'll be using Process Builder to automate the detection of when key fields are being changed so that it will create these child audit history records, noting the field that changed, the old and new values, when and who, but then for the why, copying down the value that was entered in by the user at that account level and save that off into our child audit history record. And then we'll continue to use Process Builder to reset that reason field on the account back to blank so that it's ready for the next user or time that the record gets changed. Okay, so let's put this all together in action. Come over into our object manager. Again, for our example, we're working with the account object. Now for standard field audit history, we can come over and click the Set History Tracking button. By enabling account history, we can select up to 20 different fields that we want Salesforce behind the scenes to automatically capture who's making the change, when, and what the old and new values are. For this example, I want to track account number and billing address. This will provide us a history-related list that we can add to our page layouts as well as report on those changes. But that's not allowing us to know why the change occurred. So in our solution, we have another object called our account field audit history. I have the parent lookup to the account, and then we also have our field name that we'll use Process Builder to populate with the account number, billing address, whatever those key fields are. Of course, our old and new values, and then our reason. Now remember, how are we going to get the reason? Whenever a user is making a edit to a record, they might be changing 3, 4, 5 different fields at a time, and we don't want the users to have to know about this audit history object. So how are we going to make this simple and easy for the user? So going back to our account object, all right, going back to our account object, introduce a custom field called reason. And so this will be on the page layout. We'll be prompting the user via a validation rule that whenever key fields change, they have to fill this field out. And then when we jump into the process builder, you'll see how this is going to be used and when it gets reset. So we talked about the validation rules. To require that people populate a reason, you'll want to have a validation rule. And you can either have one or more validation rules, and it's important that they're looking at your key fields. that they changed or what other criteria you may have. And if your field change reason field, if that's blank, then of course our validation rule is going to fire and it's going to block the user from saving or making that change until they kind of tell us why they're making the change. Okay? And then we'll use Process Builder to automate the rest of it. So coming in here, I've got my process on my account object. And I'm tracking whenever the record is created or edited. And then I have multiple decision criterias running here on the left. I configure one for each key field that I'm wanting to monitor. In my scenario, I want to keep up with the account number as well as the billing street whenever those change. So for the first one, for the account number, its criteria comes in and looks for the account number field is changed true. And then the one thing it needs to do is create a child field audit history record. So as we saw, we have the account lookup, who's making the change, and then I'm putting in which field is changed. So you can put whatever label here makes sense for you, probably the same field label of the field itself, and then capture the new value. And then for capturing the old value, we will use a formula referencing the prior value function. And that way we can know what the old value was. And then, of course, the whole purpose for all this, pulling down that reason that was entered in at the account level. So this is where we're going to copy that reason that the user provided when they were editing the account and save that down here when we create our field audit history record. Now, this handled for tracking the account number. I also have a second key field, the billing street, when it changed. And so looking at that field, operator is changed true, and then I want to create yet another field audit history record. Okay, and set up that it's related to the same account, who made the change, new and old values, and again, copying down the reason that the user had entered. So that same one reason, but we'll have if the user was changing both an account and billing street at the same time, we would end up with two audit history records. And so on that note, it's really important to make sure that after you've set up all your decisions and your actions, to come back and make sure that after the first pass, you evaluate to the next criteria. You don't want the process builder to just stop for the first field that it noted was changing. You want it to continue to flow down through the rest of process builder so that all the audit history for any of your key fields that you're tracking actually get tracked. Now at the very end, the last step of your process builder, we need to update the account record so that we reset this field change reason. So I'm using an update records action, and I'm going to set the value back to, in my case, the global constant value of null or empty string, your preference. And that way, after the user fills in their reason, they click save. Process Builder is going to grab it, save it off into the child audit history records, and then this last step is going to blank out the reason at that account level so that it's ready for the next user or the next time the account gets changed. And that's really important because the next time a key field gets changed, if that reason is blank, that's when the validation rule is going to fire to require the user to put something in there. If we didn't blank it out, then users may unknowingly make changes to key fields, not realizing they needed to provide a reason, and we would have just kept recycling the old reason, which is probably not what you want. Okay, so let's see this in action. Over here, I'm on my account, Universal Containers. And my key fields, right, are the account number and the billing street. And so if I come in here and let's say I want to make a change, the account number from 45 or 465, let's change that to the value 123. Now, if all I do is I go and click save, my validation rule blocks me. Hey, what's going on? Oh, I have to provide this field change reason because that's a key field. You got to give a reason why. And we'll say correcting a typo. Now that I have a reason in there, I'll click save. The validation rule will pass. Process builder fired, and you'll notice it did blank out the field change reason, so it reset that, but not before it had created the child audit history record. And we've captured what the field name was, our old value, our new value, and most importantly for doing all this, the reason why. Now, this also will work if we're making changes to the other key fields that I'm tracking. So the billing street address. Maybe I don't want the full drive, I just want the abbreviation for drive. And I also want to say, well, it's not 123, it's 133. Okay. And then to fill this out, let's go ahead and make a third change to a non-key field. Change the type from customer to prospect, let's say. So we have 3 fields being changed, 2 of which are required per, well, the one account number is required by the validation rule, but the billing address for my process builder will track that it's being changed. But this third field type is not being tracked at all. So we'll see what's going to happen after here. So we'll say correcting account number again and updating billing street to use abbreviation. Okay, we'll click save. My fields have been updated. Again, Process Builder blanked the change reason again to be just ready for the next time someone comes in to make a change. But that value wasn't lost. It was used here when we created the audit histories. So the second time Process Builder fired, it noticed that both key fields that we care about, account number and billing street, changed. And since they changed together, they both got the same reason that had been entered at the account level. Okay, and there you go. Some advanced field audit history changing to capture the reason, all declaratively, clicks not code. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.